Hey, what's good YouTube? Anti-Yami here, and we're back with a chess video this time around. So I decided to I don't know, I love chess. I'm not extremely great at chess, but I like playing chess. So I decided to add some YouTube chess content where I review some of my games. It's not always going to be wins or dubs, but sometimes there will be L's. Just talk about the brief position and just kind of analyze some games. I might actually do a little more chess content down the line, but I just want to review this one game versus Benjamin Juliet. Now, this is a unrated match. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have got rated, or I guess paired up with a 1700 if I'm still I guess at this time I'm a 1491. So I'm pretty sure this is a very unrated match, because sometimes I play rated, sometimes I play unrated, just depending on how I'm feeling. If I'm not playing very spicy, I usually try to go into the unrated position. But let's just dive into this game and just analyze the position. Maybe think about what my opponent wants and what I was trying to go for, and some of the mistakes that prescribed in this match. And let's just dive into it. All right, so we open up with as you guys already saw, d4. So I open up with d4. This is my favorite thing to open up with white. I like d4 because it leads into more closed positions, where e4 leads mostly into more open positions. And I really hate it when I play e4 and my opponent responds with e5. I cannot stand it. I prefer them to go the French, or maybe the Sicilian, something different. But every single time I play e4, I promise you they go e5. So I don't like e5. So we do d4. My opponent does knight to f6, and of course I do the classic Queen's Indian, not Queen's Indian, but the Queen's Gambit position with the c4 push to gain more space on the queen side. And then he kind of goes into more of a, I guess this is called this is not the King's Indian. This is more or less the Ninzo, I want to say, kind of like a Ninzo preparation, or I guess a Queen's Indian defense, where he plays bishop, or I guess pawn to b6, and then put the bishop on b7, controlling all this diagonal. So I continue to develop knight to c3, bishop to b4, pretty aggressive. I don't mind this at all, because if bishop takes knight, I like taking back with the b pawn, and it kind of supports my center. My d pawn becomes stronger. Normally I put my queen on c2, and it kind of stares down on the king side from that position, kind of blocks knight from coming to e4, all those great things. So I like it. So a lot of times I like to force the trade here, put the pressure on the bishop and see what he wants. A lot of times, since they put the bishop here, a lot of times they go for the trade. Obviously if he backs up, then he gets walled out and trapped, and it's just bad news. So I decided to go for queen to c2. And I also forgot to mention that this game was played, I don't know how long ago, maybe a month or two ago, so I don't remember exactly what I like to play here. But queen to c2 is a pretty standard move. Of course, my opponent goes for castle. I play my bishop out to g5 to put pressure on the knight. It's pinned or pseudo pinned to the queen. Since the bishop is already developed out and on the square, then I feel like this is a free pin. So whenever the bishop moves out here, I always like to put my bishop here before advancing to e3 pawn, so the bishop can get out, knight gets out, and I go for a castle. So let's see what happens. He tried to kick my bishop out. I back the bishop up to keep the pressure. He takes, and again I take back with the the b pawn. Again, keep an eye on the e4 pawn or e4 square, and then he comes down with d5, kind of opening up the center here. Okay, so a couple things I could do here. Obviously, I can just play pawn up here, then develop knight, castle. Pretty much that's my main game plan here. So that's exactly what I do here. Again, the moves are on the side here, but I'm not trying to pay too much attention to it. So yeah, I'm just looking at the board, hitting the arrow key, and just kind of seeing what's coming up next. All right, so he develops his knight to d7 which is good development. I decided to take here. I think the biggest reason why I decided to take here is because if I move the bishop out here, he can just take, and then I would have to move the bishop again. And I know very basic and standard chess, you don't want to move the same piece in the opening because that causes to lose time, and your opponent can take advantage of that. So I didn't want to go through that headache, so I decided to take. He takes back, and then I develop knight here, just developing a piece. Pretty sure I'm going to put the bishop on d3 at some point, and I think we're looking pretty solid here. So he decides to play queen to e8. Now, I'm not really sure what my opponent was thinking on this move per se. Maybe trying to like fight back for the e4 square, which is already pretty heavily defended with the pawn, you know, coming down here. Also, just now noticing, this also breaks the pin. So he wanted to get out of that pressure. If I decide to take here, then knight takes, and I just traded a bishop for a knight. That wasn't really doing too much, and he pretty much wins the e4 square. So nothing wrong with that. Decided to put the bishop on d3, you know, developing a piece, preparing the castle. Nothing crazy. And then my opponent goes for the fianchetto here. So, he wants to put the bishop here on b7 and want to laser down this direction. So, nothing wrong with that. I decided to go for a castle. He puts his bishop on b7, and all of a sudden now I decided to threaten the c7 pawn, which I think in general is probably best for black to go ahead and just shoot it on c5. I don't see a reason why that's pretty bad. I mean, it could leave this d5 pawn kind of exposed, but you know, maybe a pawn push for black is not like out of question. He could also defend with like the rook here. But yeah, I just want to do a quick threat. It is a blitz game, 5 minutes each, so I decided to do a quick move here, kind of putting pressure on my opponent, and he's forced to deal with this situation here. He decides to hop knight here. So again, is taking here bad? Because I feel like if I take here, what's the best thing my opponent can do? Because the knight's not really threatening anything here in my position too much. Am I overlooking something here? Like, I'm pretty sure this is not a free pawn by any means. Is there any way I can look at a computer here? I think I can analyze my position from here, but we'll probably go back later and see like what's wrong with bishop takes on c7, because I feel like it's a kind of a free pawn, and I respected my opponent way too much. But let's see what happens. So I play c4. Don't care if the knight takes the bishop here, because I can just take back with the pawn and everything is peachy gory. I play c4, of course, pushing more pressure on into the center. He plays c6, which kind of like, you know, takes away my threat on c7, but I mean, I can just take here, and this kind of gives him a like an isolated pawn here, like a pretty cool weakness for me to exploit. And also this kind of staples, or this kind of like shuns out the light square bishop here, because now this light square bishop is stuck behind this pawn. So, you know, I was okay with everything here. I felt like I had a slight advantage here. I don't want to take here because I mean, the pawn is just coming closer into my camp, and it gives the bishop a little bit more spaces to look at. But yeah, so I decided to move the bishop up here because I guess I said no to the trade at this point. And I just wanted to, you know, keep really cool control of these dark squares here, which I think will come into play later on. We got rook to c8, attacking the queen. I move queen. Attacking the pawn here, and kind of like putting a little bit of pressure on this like section of the board here as well. But yeah, he decides to move the pawn to a5, which again kind of opens up like this b file to be very weak in my opinion. I mean, the knight is defending it, but again, I feel like we can take advantage of it, and also just allows my bishop to land on b5 like with no problem. So rook to b1, Yep, kind of like putting pressure on this file, preparing bishop to b5 at some point. And he just comes down and just pushes a pawn right from the king's position. So not many spaces my bishop can go, so I guess he's trying to force the trade here. So I go back to g3, and I thought he was actually going to take, but he continues to just be aggressive and push here. So I think I kind of want to go to e5. I think e5 is a really good square for my knight to go to. I mean, obviously it's in the center, and we'll see how this goes. But also, if I feel like if knight here, I can see this happening, and I can also see this happening, and then this happening, and it doesn't really look good for me, you know, because then my queen is hanging, and that's not a good deal. So I don't think I did that by any means. So I decided to go knight to h4, which I think it was like slightly better. I guess in this position, maybe just kind of come here and control some more dark squares in the blacks camp. And then unfortunately, this threat has been lingering for a hot minute ever since my queen moved from this square. And I put the bishop or the rook on this particular square. The knight was looking at this square in particular. So I think his plan was to like remove the knight from this square, and then pretty much just fork my two rooks with the knight, which was his, I guess, his main plan, which wasn't bad at all. And I overlooked this move in this position. Did not think about the knight controlling this square. Just didn't think about it at all. So we'll hop the knight out to this direction, and then he hits me with the tactic of forking my rooks here, which, you know, whatever. And then I found this move here because, again, like I said, my queen here is putting a lot of pressure on d7. And this right here kind of pins the knight to the queen here, and we're pretty much threatening to take the knight here. So if he like decides to like take in this direction, we can do something like probably like this. Maybe rook takes back, or maybe just do this, threatening the queen. And then after that, he has to, let's say, let's move the queen, and then we can just like take back. And we're looking pretty clean here. So he has to defend, of course. And I mean, this is still happening, but I, for some reason, wasn't too scared by this by any means. I feel like I was still had a pretty good position. I can probably play for a win, but also one thing I was noticing that was really weak, that this rook has no space at all, and nothing is defending the d6 square. So I decided to win back the exchange by putting my bishop onto d6, trapping the, or I guess collecting the trap rook here. So I go ahead and do that. Knight takes on b1. I take back on b1. Queen comes down here, attacking the rook. So we have to make a move here. So exactly, if I have to think about this, where would I go here? I think honestly, I blundered this if I'm not mistaken. And judging on how fast I took this, because this also kind of frees up the bishop, or sorry, the rook to kind of come over here and save itself. So if I like, say for example, like make a quick move here, defend the rook, then he can just come over here and save the rook from the bishop. So not sure why I just took here, and yeah, just hangs a bishop, or sorry, I just hang a rook for free. So queen takes with check. We're in danger. Only move here is kind of block with the bishop, and the bishop here just kind of like put more pressure on this square right here. So basically black is mating one, or threatening mating one here, so we got to do something about it. So I feel like this was my only move to get out of mate. There was nothing else I could have really done to prevent this. So I had to kind of hop up here after he takes, and we're just like losing tons of material here. We're like mad behind on all the material, but the great thing is I'm up in time, and what people have told me that the timer could be a piece as well. So even though I'm very far behind in material and I'm getting mollywopped, I'm gonna be honest with you, because I lost a free I lost a free bishop here, I lost a free rook here, I mean, he got back the exchange here, so we basically lost like 8 points to like just being dumb. And we're in big trouble because the queen is lurking around the king. The bishop can kind of like swing anywhere from this square to this square to put a lot of pressure on me. The pawn is in my face. It doesn't look good, right? So I was like, all right, well, I am down, and the best thing to do when you're down in material like this is to create chaos. Create random threats, and sometimes if your opponent is not ready for the random threats, they can blunder and you can win back the game. So that's what I do. So I decided to put the knight here to like threaten this pawn and eventually put my queen into the attack, and hopefully we can do something on the weak king side. Black gets greedy here, grabs the pawn. Nothing wrong with this per se, because again, he can do something like this and I'm just in mad trouble. Like, what can I do to stop this, right? But the knight right here is pretty much defending this square, so we're okay. But also the queen is attacking the knight, so we're in pretty bad shape. But one thing, like I said, I was threatening an attack here. Black decides to not deal with this, which I feel like king to like maybe a7 could have been a lot better. Just kind of like not give me any fighting chances and just trade pieces and win the game. But he doesn't do that. He just takes the pawn with greed. So this gives me like a fighting chance. So knight takes h6, check. King comes down, and then I just take the pawn that was pretty much threatening to win the game here. So we won 2 pawns, and Black doesn't really have a strong attack on the king here, because he has no way to like threaten a real check here without being captured. No pieces are into an attack. Like, these pieces are now like so far from the attack here. The queen is pretty much doing everything by herself, and there's no real threats here now. There's nothing Black that can really do anything in this position. So the queen comes kind of back. I play the queen to a very active square. c6 was like the best square I can think of. It threatens the pawn here. I also threaten, like, h6 for some really scary tactics. So now we're back into the game and we're just threatening stuff. Bishop to d3, which is a very bad move, like extremely very bad, because now this allows h6, and again with time pressure, I'm pretty sure he didn't really have time to calculate all this. He had to make a move, and I'm up by like over a minute here. So we played this because I already saw this coming. Once queen here, king only has 1 move, and then you play knight here, and we're pretty much winning the game because his only move here is to take, and I win the queen, and we're straight up back into the game. Like, again, the knight and the rook, this just does nothing. The bishop had threats, but quickly became irrelevant really quick, and he just allowed me to get this really strong attack off, which kind of gave me back the game. So queen takes, knight comes out to g6 a little bit too late for the knight to come back in, but again, he didn't see the rook was hanging here because, again, time pressure. This was a 5-second move, didn't have time to think about it. I take check, king comes down over here. I'm just starting to eat pawns, because I'm gonna win on time anyway, so I don't have to go for a mate. I'm just making pawn takes again. He decides to throw away a bishop. I'm not sure what this was, but it took him like 9 seconds to come up with this really weird sack. So I'm thinking he's trying to force a stalemate at some point. This is not gonna work. So bishop takes on g2. I take back. Again, I think he's just throwing more pieces. I just take because there's no way I'm gonna give him a stalemate. King comes closer. I play here, and the game is over. So I like this match very much, is because that no matter how many pieces you're down, never give up. Keep playing the game, because you just never know what's gonna happen. Unless it's just like force mate, like there's nothing you can really do about it. Your opponent's playing so solidly, you can't really have a counterattack. Like I said, if my opponent would have like actually stopped like these threats here and didn't get my knight like super active, like if he comes down here and play like, you know, king here instead of getting like really greedy and snatching a free pawn, honestly, I don't see many chances of me coming back here, because I guess I can still play something like, you know, queen here to kind of like put more pressure here. But honestly, there's nothing he can really do to like stop this. Like, honestly, this is a really hard position to like stop. Maybe he can play here. Now thinking about it, like knight can come down here and just kind of block off the queen. And if I come over here and just attack, I mean, black is not doing poorly at all. Just to kind of like deflect my queen from taking on h6 by giving me the b6 pawn, I don't really see a way that black can do anything, or sorry, white, to make a really strong counterplay, because all the pieces are pretty much defended. The black king is not like super in danger, and I honestly, if he's really confident, he could probably put the queen back here and just trade it off. I mean, honestly, like where is this queen going? Like, queen can't come here, queen can't come here, can't come here, obviously can't come here. Could probably go here, probably threatening this is probably like my best shot. But I feel like, you know, he could find some kind of move to kind of like, you know, stay safe. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, the fact that he just gave me this opening and it just kind of lined up perfectly for me to make this really sick comeback. Yeah, this is never give up. You just never know, right? Keep your head in the game. Just because his rating was like way higher than mine, because I have beaten like 1900s before on unrated. They just make like a really small mistake. I played very solid, and you know, this game I didn't play very solid, but I had a very good counterattack to kind of put myself back into the game, and it was just GG's from here. So yeah, but guys, thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoy this, I can definitely do more games like this, but I mean, I have fun, you know, talking about different positions, just kind of like looking over like things I could have done differently and things of that nature. Maybe I'll find a way to like put a computer into this, because going back to the, let's see, to this position right here, because as you can tell, I made a lot of really good moves here, like a lot of solid good moves here, a lot of best moves. Like that was the best move, that take was the best move, knight there's the best move, also bishop to d3, which I talked about before, was also a best move. I was thinking he would play this at some point, but just didn't really do it until like too late. Put bishop there. Again, c4 was also a really good move here, which I eventually played. Castle, which is another best move. You know, I never thought about putting knight here, but it's, you know, something to look into. I want to see what will happen if I take here. If I take here, what is this? It's a mistake. So I had a really good sense back in the, I guess, back in this era, that this was a mistake, because I think rook to c8, and then you got bishop to f4, and then I feel like, yeah, he just wins back here. So I think I just saw this, and rook is just in my camp. It's just looking really strong, and then you can probably eventually put this other rook here, and black is kind of like on his way to dominating. So that's why I didn't take it, because it gives the rook an open c file, and yeah, it just causes all chaos. But I mean, yeah, I feel like I like talking about my matches without the computer telling me what to do. But maybe next time I do an analyzation, maybe I will have these computers telling me this, like, this is a mistake, so we can just dive deeper into which is actually the best move. But yeah, very interesting, very cool, very interesting. But all right, guys, thank you guys for watching. Great stuff. I was happy to do this and analyze such a great opponent that kind of like flopped, got really greedy, and gave me some counterplay. But yes, all right, guys, take it easy. I'll see you guys in the next video.